Hi, everybody. This is Linda Binns, and I'm here with Conny Graf. And we do tend to do a live event weekly, but we're playing with something new today. So we're seeing how this goes. We are live streaming to 3 platforms simultaneously, and I'm interested to see how this goes. So, hi, Conny. Happy New Year.
Hi, Linda. Happy New Year. It's really exciting. It looks a little different than what we're
Yeah.
used to.
Yep, it looks
Um,
different, but it's good to try new things, right? I just hope it's all working and showing up properly for everybody or anybody who's watching. So, what are we talking about today? We are talking about what your home is telling you. And this topic really came about because Connie and I did a 3-part workshop last week. And on the first day, I was talking about the energy layout of your home and how it reflects the different aspects of your life. On the second day, Connie did what she calls a love tour, which is picking an area of your home. And well, you tell them what the love tour is. Better coming from you.
well, yeah. So the love tour has 2 parts. So part one is actually where we're focusing on all the positive, where we're focusing on the beauty, where we're remembering and reminding ourselves why we're even living here. Like sometimes we can get so bogged down. We walk around and pay attention to the beauty. So that's kind of what I love to do. And then in the second part, we're actually, so how I call it sometimes is like we're paying attention what interrupts the beauty, or it's like, and then I walked our participants through a series of questions that bring some clarity to you and
Yes.
that help you look at things kind of like from a different angle, and which brings clarity, and like even you had that and I was so surprised that no,
Well, I was
actually
surprised.
not
I was
surprised, that's the
surprised too.
wrong word. Well, yeah,
Well,
one way of surprised, but it was just proving again that this system works because
mhm,
somebody who is so aware of
mm,
herself, somebody who is so knowledgeable about the energy and everything, still got quite a insight.
mhm.
And so this is why I'm doing it with myself often as well. So
Yeah. Well, and that's how this topic came about for today. And then on the third day, we put everything together. So the energy layout of your home shows you where the different areas are as they relate to different aspects of your life. And so when you look at what is going on in there, in those different areas, you can say, okay, this area represents my relationships. How do I feel about this area? Does it feel really good? Does it um, inspire good relationships, or this area represents money or wealth for me, and how does that reflect what's going on in my financial situation right now and how abundant I feel. And so it helps to bring a lot of clarity. So between that, the energy layout, and then doing the love tour, it brings a lot of awareness, a lot of insights, and then we put it all together on the third day,
mhm.
helping people create an action plan of, okay, so now you know this is what's going on. What steps can you take to do something about it? So I think we both had some insights from
Yeah.
ourselves from the workshop. Um, the biggest thing for me, the thing is, your home really is talking to you all the time. It's about how much you're paying attention to it. So if you have an area that you you just really dislike, maybe it's really cluttered, maybe it's just very disorganized, you avoid it, or it just feels very overwhelming to you, then that's telling you something, right? It's telling you that, well, it's telling you that you are overwhelmed in your home, yes, in that area, but more than that, that area will actually represent a part of your life, and so it will
Mhm.
tell you that that is exactly how you're feeling when it comes to that part of your life.
Mhm.
Um, and a couple of times, I did feng shui consultations for years, and a couple of times I had people, usually what I would do is I go to someone's house and I say, okay, so what do you want to focus on? And they would tell me, oh, my relationships, or my money situation or health is a big issue or something like that. And then I would go around the home and look for specifically what was affecting those areas, so that I can give them ideas of things to do that would move things, start things moving and improving as quickly as possible. But a couple of times I had people who, when I went there, they said, "No, I'm not going to tell you anything. You look around and you tell me what's going on in my life." And I'd say, okay, I can do
Sounds
that.
about like me.
It's going to take a bit longer, but I can do that, And it's true, because I could go around and say, okay, well, I think relationships might be an issue for you, and then I would tell them why I feel that, and I would think this might be something going on here. And they would always say, "Oh my God, how do you know that? How do you know that?" Well, it's because it's telling you something. And so the big aha for me was, I have an office. It's a very nice office. It's not a cluttered office. It's got a beautiful desk in there. It's very, very nice. I never use it though. I never use it. And that's okay. It's not a big deal. I never thought I never really thought of it as a problem, because there's nothing wrong with it. Honestly, anybody will come in, look at that office and say, "That's a very nice office," and, no problem. But what I realized was that it no longer works for me in the way that I work now. I don't sit behind a desk. I don't like to sit behind a desk. When I had a desktop computer and my printer on the desk and all of that, then it worked fine. But I don't do that anymore. So I find myself going to other places in the house, and even for doing videos like this, I had tried using it for doing videos, but the walls are quite dark. Very nice, but not too dark for video. So I don't do videos in there either. So as I thought about that, I just realized this really doesn't work for me anymore. And I can do something about that. I don't have to keep the desk in there if I don't use it. I can change it up, and I can repaint the walls. I can make it into an office that really does work for me. So it was more a case of, yes, it's a room I avoid working in, not because I don't like it, but not because there's anything wrong with it, but because it doesn't work for me anymore. So that was my aha.
Yeah. And this is what I often say, is like, where your environment doesn't support you, and where we kind of, or sometimes even try to put ourselves into a box and think like an office has to have a desk, and it has to be this, and it has to be that, ignoring that this doesn't work for us, and that's not how we're functioning. And it was really interesting. And the other thing that I was thinking too is like, this example, I feel like, is so encouraging for anybody, because you, Linda, know so much about energy. You also know about the energy of rooms that are not used. It's like, what happened? Like, even if the room is beautiful, like my mother, after we moved out, she had this big house, and all these rooms were not used, and you can walk in there and you could immediately sense that this room isn't used. And what is this doing to you and your life? Because everything is connected, no? And so this is where we sometimes can be blind, or like have blinders on for our own life. So it's similar thing happened for me. It's like, I know I read several books about feng shui. I know quite a bit. I'm not an expert, but all I could always think like was, oh, my wealth area is in my bedroom. And the thought that always came was, my money must be sleeping. My wealth must be asleep. And you could just, with one sentence, you could completely change this. And this is kind of like how then our environment supports us when we're looking at it from that angle, rather than sabotages us, or we sabotage ourselves sometimes.
Yeah. So for anybody watching this, the idea is that it's about paying attention. And like I said, it was a big awareness for me, because I didn't feel like I wasn't paying attention. I knew I didn't like working in there. I knew there was nothing wrong with the office. I knew it was very nice and I liked it. The new awareness was, if it's not working for you, change it, right? You don't have to keep it as a traditional office, banging it against the wall. But I mean, it seems so obvious now, but we just, we go about our daily lives, and we adapt and to whatever our circumstances are, and we don't think about these things. So It's about paying attention, being aware of, okay, there's this room or there's this area that I tend not to go in or I don't use. Let's say a dining room is a classic example. I like to use that one because a lot of people have a formal dining room and then they never ever use it. Um, so if you have a space like that and you never ever use it, either you can say, well, I actually really like the idea of having a dining room, and why don't we at least have a meal in there once a week or at the weekends or something like that? Because I like to keep the dining room, I like it, and I want to use it. So you keep it activated. Or you can say, I really don't want a dining room, it doesn't serve me anymore. And what other function could I use this room for? What could maybe I've always wanted an exercise space, or perhaps it would be a great office space. You could turn it into anything that you want so that it serves you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, if you have a space that's cluttered, that's telling you something as well, right?
Well, especially if you look on the Bagua, then also like a
Yes.
connection to that area of your life, and then that opens up your eyes quite a bit.
Yeah, it really does. So, and it could also be one thing I talk about a lot is when you have things that there may be nice things, there may be very, very nice things, but they have very negative memories and associations for you. Perhaps you went through a very bitter divorce and you have an item of furniture or some things that you kept from that relationship. Well, by keeping those things, you're holding on to the energy of what happened. Maybe you have something that somebody gave you and that person ended up treating you really badly. You had a very bad experience. Well, even when you're not conscious about it, you may not walk by the thing and immediately think of that person or what they did to you. On a subconscious level, you're very aware of it. It's just not being brought into your conscious mind. So those things affect you all the time. So you have the energy of those things, you have the energy of those people, you have the energy of those experiences around you. So when you pay attention to that, when you really pay attention to that, then you start to see, or you can ask yourself, do I want that? Is that energy that I want to have in my environment? How is that impacting me? Because that kind of energy, it can really hold you back in very significant ways. So, awareness always is key. Just paying attention to your environment, pay attention to it because it is telling you something all the time.
Mm-hmm. But I think too is like sometimes, and I think this example from both of us last week, sometimes it's also helpful to pull somebody in who walks you through it or who looks at certain things with fresh eyes, because I just know too, I'm a little bit of a geek, and so I'm studying and reading and researching a lot about how the brain works. And so with all the awareness that we're trying to have, our brain still needs to prioritize or needs to filter out a lot of stuff to be able to function, because we're so bombarded with images and things. So especially in a very familiar environment like our home, our brain, and I noticed that with a lot of people, when I go and help them declutter, I'm saying like, what's happening over here? And they're like, oh, I didn't even know that was there. And I'm like, you're living here. So I think like sometimes it helps if you either get somebody like us, like Linda or me, who sees it with detached eyes, especially when it's about something that might negatively affect you. Or it could even be a friend who just helps you see your space a little bit different, to become a different awareness, because it's like you and I, we're probably more or a lot aware because we're always talking about it, and I'm always teaching this too. But again, like I didn't clue off that you could look at it from a different angle. I just always thought like, oh, my life is bummed because in my house the wealth area is asleep,
Right.
And you were thinking like, oh yeah, I have a beautiful office and there's nothing wrong with it, but you weren't using it. So
Right.
there was not
Of
really
course.
anything wrong with it,
Yeah.
but it wasn't serving you. Just
Right.
like the thought of my wealth area being asleep wasn't serving me, and that you can actually look at it from a different angle. So
Yeah. I
that's
mean, well, and when it comes to feng shui, and I don't talk about feng shui specifically very much anymore. I talk more about the energy of your home, because when you get into feng shui, I love feng shui. I trained in it. I taught it for years, did it for years. But sometimes people get hung up on the term, and sometimes people read a lot about it, and that can cause a great deal of confusion very often. For example, if you know about the energy layout of your home, if you know about the bagua, and you know, okay, my wealth area is here, or let's say it's a workspace or whatever, and then you say, okay, well, I have a bathroom in my wealth area. Oh, and I've read that that's really bad. That's really bad to have a bathroom in your wealth area because it's water, and what's happening with the water in your bathroom? It's going down the drain, it's being flushed away. So that's not ideally what you would want in your wealth area, absolutely. But you can always do something about it. I had a wonderful client years ago in St. Louis, and when I went to look at her office space, she did indeed have her bathroom in the wealth area. And so I said to her, this is in your wealth area. Can you make it a really, really wonderful bathroom? Let it represent finance. And she happened to be a CPA too, so money, is very, very important. Next time I went back there, she had made that bathroom so beautiful. Nobody ever wanted to leave it. Everybody, whenever any clients came, they always wanted to go into the bathroom. It's just beautiful colors and just rich color, and she made it so beautiful. And that's the kind of thing you can do. So there's always something that you can do to improve the energy of an area, or to look at things in a different way. Like, I'm looking at using my office in a different way. You're looking at your bedroom in the wealth area in a different way.
yeah.
So it's about, what is my environment saying? How is it supporting me? How is it not supporting me? And then if it's not supporting me, what can I do about it? And there's always something.
Sometimes it's just the thought about it as well that isn't supporting us. No, it's like,
Right.
my thought about, oh, like my money and my wealth is just asleep. Well, that's not really serving me. And the more I'm saying this, the more I'm probably also manifesting it out in the world. No, like,
Right. Well, thoughts become things, right? So the more you
exactly.
think that thought, then yeah. So, and it's in the questions we ask ourselves. It's just shifting our mindset. And I think, since so many more people are working from home now, either permanently or part-time, or whatever it may be, this has really become a higher focus for people, because you may not have thought that you would need a workspace, an active workspace at home. You might have had a little corner, with a little desk where you paid bills or did something like that. But now here we are, very often working from home, having to do video conference calls from home. And so it becomes even more important to think about, how can I ensure that my environment supports me in the best way possible and makes things as easy as possible for me?
Yeah. I'm always all about easy. And
Yes.
sometimes it's hard to decide, because in the beginning, like, if we talk about, I work from home since 1998. It's almost it's like last century. But I mean, for a lot of people, 2 years ago it was said, oh well, we just need to break this rise of the numbers, so we just stay home for 2 weeks. So if you're just thinking like you're staying home for 2 weeks, you may not create a nice office space that all supports you. You might be able to improvise and just do the best you can. But I think what the last 2 years showed is that we probably move more towards using our home as a multi-purpose place. Or if you notice that's where your business or your employer goes with you, that you work more from your private space, then for sure it's the time to create a more designated area that actually does support that everything is easy. Like for a while you can improvise, and we are able to adapt to situations that are not so supportive. But if it takes longer, then for sure
Right.
we need to do this.
Well, and with the whole pandemic thing, and people having to go into lockdown and be in isolation, I think that brought even more into focus, the home environment, because were you fine with being at home? I mean, I love my home. I didn't have any problem with not being able to go out anywhere. I enjoy being in my home. But what if you didn't enjoy being in your home? What if you couldn't wait to get out? What if it was driving you crazy being there? I think that's a great insight as well, because if that was the case, even though we may not be in lockdown anymore, that's still telling you something about where you're living. And you might say, oh, it's okay, you're living in a big house and I'm living in a tiny apartment, or I'm living in just one room. Wherever you are living, doesn't matter how big or small it is, you can do something to make it work for you, to make it support you. And if it isn't supporting you, that's something you want to look at, because it's telling you something. Even that is telling you something. If you live with that, then that's telling you, your priorities. You're not making yourself a priority by allowing your environment to support you. So yes, your home is talking to you all the time. It's telling you things about yourself. Not always what we want to hear.
Well, no, but it's if we reframe this all, that's where our power lies. No, and that's what we're always saying too. Is like, we can't control the pandemic. We can't control whether the government puts us in lockdown or not. We can't control what this virus is doing, whether it's going to mutate itself 20 more times and driving the world crazy or not. But what we often, like I would say 99% of the time, if not more, is we can take control of our environment. We have the capability to change something in our immediate environment. And so, like, the more you start taking control of the areas that you do have, the better you do feel, even with things that are a little bit out of your control. No, so that's kind of
well, I think the one thing I want people to understand more than anything is that it's not just about your home. It's not just about making it look nice, making it feel nice. It has much bigger implications, because your home is connected to you. It's part of you. It represents you. What's going on there is a symptom, is a sign of what's going on with you. So if you want to change something in your life, you can work with the energy of your home to bring about that change. And so, it's about so much more. It's not about decorating. It's not about interior design. Those things can come into it, but it's more about how is your home serving you, because it has much wider implications than just being the place where you live. It affects every aspect of your life. And when you start to look at it from that perspective, that's when you gain a lot more insights, really.
Yeah, and I think that's what also the people realized last week on our 3-part workshop. No, like they had some really awesome insights. Some of them like big ones, and other ones had more like what sounded at first small ones, but they had a big implication in the end. And so.
Well, and even the question, I think one question that came up during the workshop was about a basement, and the basement being cluttered and disorganized. And, the question is, well, does that matter? Does that affect me? Absolutely. That affects, you might not be able to see it. Somebody who comes to visit you can't see it. They don't know it's there. Does that still affect you? Absolutely. Affects every aspect of your life. So, yeah, I mean, even as storage areas, if you have a storage area cupboard that, that's crammed full and you're scared to open the door in case it all falls out, that's telling you something as well. Does that affect you, even though you can't see it and it's shut away in a cupboard? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well, if anybody is interested, anybody watching this is interested in what or seeing the recordings of the workshop that we did, then just let one of us know, and we'll be happy to send those to you, because it was a 3-part workshop, and it was all to do with launching our program, which we've done a couple of times, and we're launching again this year, called Regain Clarity, Confidence, and Control. And it's all about controlling the things you can control, which is your environment and you.
Yeah.
So,
exactly. And we had a lot of good feedback also from people who just watched the recording. Like, obviously it was the people who were on live, we were walking them through this all, but this is very manageable. It's 3 1-hour long videos, where you can actually right away, without spending another 7 hours, you can actually implement what you're learning and getting to big clarity, and then take control and
absolutely,
do it, you know?
absolutely. Well, so pay attention to your environment. It is telling you something all the time about yourself, and see what it's telling you.
Yeah.
Look at it from that perspective, and you will gain some good insights, just like we did.
Yeah.
Just like we did.
Just like we did. Yeah.
It just shows it doesn't matter how much you know and how much you do these things, you can still learn, and you can still be surprised.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Connie. This was a great conversation, and I look forward to chatting with you again.
Yeah. Thanks, Linda.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.